Okay,
Okay,
our
go
first
for it.
caller is John in Idaho. John, you are live on Transatlantic.
Hello?
Hello, how are
Hello.
you?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear us?
Oh, hi. Give me just a moment to get to a slightly better position. I'm outside right now.
Okay. I'm glad you know all the state things, because I'd have absolutely no idea what ID was.
Oh, yeah, no.
It's
The public school did me
Idaho.
good.
It's
How
by
are you, John? Are you
Washington,
ready? You're
vaguely.
inside. How
Yeah,
can we
I
help
got
you this week?
into the car, so it's quieter here.
Wicked.
Great.
How can we help you,
Uh,
John?
it's going to be a bit of a story. So, like, I want to say, like, around a month and a half ago, well, I've experienced dysphoria myself for a very, very long time. And around a month and a half ago, I first kind of like started to entertain the idea that it may be gender related. So I started like looking stuff up on the internet and asking like some transgender friends I have about it. And then it was late last week. One of my friends sent me this link to this thing. I think it was called like the Gender Dysphoria Bible or something. And it had a lot of like, it was kind of organized like a Bible, I guess. And on the side, it had a lot of these like personal accounts from Twitter of trans, primarily women, I think it was, at least that I saw. And like, I don't think those should feel like call outs to a cis man, but they felt like they were call outs to me.
Right.
And I'm just kind of a big bundle of stress and emotion and confusion right now.
Yeah, I feel you. I like, I mean, not at all jumping to the conclusion that you are or aren't trans, but like this stage, I think for anyone is very stressful because for a lot of, trans people who have been keeping things repressed, the moment where you allow yourself to start exploring, there is so much stuff. There is so many things to consider. There's so much to think about, and there's so many emotions to deal with. And some of them have been built up, like your whole life. And I think equally as well, even if you aren't a trans person and you just, investigate this stuff and it turns out that you're happy as a cis person, it can still be very stressful because there's still a lot of stuff. And, there can be some quite serious implications, I guess, from realizing that you would benefit from some transition or something like that. So don't feel like you being overwhelmed is like a bad thing. It's like incredibly normal. I would be shocked if anyone said they weren't overwhelmed when they first started dealing with this. I think that by the sounds of things, what you're doing, talking to trans friends, that's an amazing start. When I came out to myself, I'd never even seen a trans person in real life knowingly. I'd never met a trans person, never talked to one ever. So having trans friends to talk to is amazing. That gives you a good like foundation to build your sort of intellectual and emotional understanding on. And my advice to everyone at any stage in the trans process, if they're asking me, I'm considering, I don't know what to think, or even if they're like, I'm pretty much done and I didn't know which surgeon to pick for this, my advice to everyone at every stage is talk to as many trans people as you can. Talk to people who have been through it and whose lives are better because of it. For sure. Like, there are loads of trans people out there and loads of them will be willing to talk to you about it. Don't just necessarily go up to a random trans person in the street, but like if you go on Twitter, if you go on Facebook, if you go on there are so many places, and like calling into this show is a good place. But also, I always do recommend talking to people who thought they were trans and turned out not to be. Talk to detrans people. Talk to just as a wide variety of people as you can, and just see if anyone has an experience which you empathize with, something that you feel like speaks to you. And it sounds like you're starting to do that. So, like, that's great. Like, you're on the right track, regardless of where you end up. Talking to people and just listening will be the best way to get there. And me and Arden were just talking about this before the show. Unfortunately, this is like, in fact, sorry to steal your excellent analogy, Arden, but she was like, this early stage of transition is like sobering up. Sometimes you realize you want to do it, and if you're drunk and you're like, I need to sober up, and you can't just be like, pal, there's nothing you can do, even if you know what you want to do and you have some water and you have some food, it just takes time. And you have this horrible bit in the middle where you just have to get through it. And the early stage of coming out to yourself and coming out to other people, you just have to get through it. And even if you're not coming out to yourself, even if you're just understanding it, and it takes time, emotions are slow and stupid and irrational. And even if you get to the point where you're like, rationally, I know I'm a trans person, or rationally, I know I'm not a trans person, your emotions are going to be 3-6 months behind. And unfortunately, it's kind of a shit time. I'm not saying you're going to have an unbearable time for the next 6 months of your life, but just be aware that if you're feeling overwhelmed with emotions, it's just something you're going to get through with time, and you're just going to have to ride out regardless of the result. So that's my sort of starting advice. Arden, do you have any, now that I've stolen your brilliant analogy? And
how dare you? No, I think, I'm not really sure, John, if you're looking for like just an empathic ear, or if you're looking for solutions, but like, are there any like particular like fears or concerns, or like a specific line of thought that's making you feel overwhelmed? Like, if we can assuage that, I'd love to help. But if you're really just looking for empathy, that's cool too.
I don't know. I think it's kind of a combination of all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I haven't gotten a chance to watch the full show before. I have watched some of the clips. I usually work when you guys are streaming, which sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But you two just seem so put together, and like you know what's going on.
It takes absolutely years to get here. Like, I assure you, when I first got to the point where, I was finally like, I'm going to just confront this. I'm going to deal with this, and wherever it leads me, I'm just going to find out what's true. And I watched some YouTube videos of trans people, and I was like, fuck, this is probably me. And I was like, they have their life so together, they're so happy, they're so positive, like they're so confident, and they know exactly what they are, and I'm a fucking mess. I can sleep like 4 hours a day from stressing. I feel like everything is wrong. Like, it was horrible. And just kind of looking at these people who'd gone through it gave me a lot of strength to just keep finding out. Yeah, don't think that you're alone on this. Don't think that you're the only person who's flailing. Don't think that, we're somehow super together and you're a bad example or whatever. All early stage trans people have some kind of nightmare bullshit to go through. It's normal.
Yeah. I also think it's really important to recognize that, like, I think from the outside looking in, everyone is always going to look like they have it more together than they do. And don't get me wrong, I feel like I definitely have a lot more of myself together than I did at early transition. I'm a lot more confident in who I am, for sure. But like, I remember being in early stages of transition and looking at trans women who were like where I am now and being like, oh gosh, like I'm never going to get there. Is it even worth it? Like, and it 100% was. It's a really, really slow burn. But I also think, like, it's not like I magically like have it so together that I don't have problems now. Like I still get days, you probably see me venting inappropriately on Twitter about like when I am particularly dismayed about how difficult the trans experience is. Like it's a constant process, and there's never like a destination. It's always going to be a process. So I think sometimes it can bring a little bit of peace, realizing that you probably have it more together than you think you do, and that all the people you think have it together probably have it less together than you think they do, and we're all kind of on the same journey, you know?
I guess another thing that I would add is that when someone says to you, oh, like, you know, I'm coming up to my 5-year anniversary of coming out to everyone, so like 6 or 7 years or whatever of coming out to myself, and that sounds like a really long time. And if I said to you I didn't have it together until like 6 months ago, like you're like, God, do I have to really survive through this for like 5.5 years? That's such a long time. But now where I'm sitting now, like looking back, I know there was some bullshit. It doesn't, like, in one sense it seems like it just kind of went like no time at all, and in another sense this seems like my whole life. Like when I think back, like, did I really live all that time as like a man? Like and it's, you know, time's interesting how it works in your mind, and it can seem really overwhelming, and it can seem like it drags on forever, like you just have no idea. I remember when I was early on, I was keeping like this graph of how confident I felt about transitioning, and it went from 5 to -5, and -5 was like, I'm definitely never going to transition, and +5 was like, I'm ready to do it. And I was keeping this graph, and it was like oscillating like this all over the place, like +5, -5, +5, -5, 0, 0, 0. And it was like changed by the hour, and it slowly started. I was keeping like a moving average because I'm a complete nerd, and it was slowly trending up. And to me at the time, I remember thinking like, this graph thing is just going on forever. I've been doing this forever and I'm not seeing any results. But actually it flashed by, and it was some like, you know, 2 months at the start of my decision process. Yeah, I don't really know what I was saying. I mean, I guess this is true for everything. Time's weird, isn't it? But if you're feeling like it almost like the floor has opened up underneath you and you're just kind of like free falling and you're like, what the fuck? You know, pick one small thing and focus on that. Listen to someone, talk to someone, ask one question, watch one video, and maybe your brain will probably flit onto something else. Like you'll be worried, what happens when I face prejudice? How do I pick a surgeon? Like, what are my friends going to think? Like, what hormones do I need? These are all totally different things. There is 1,000 different things that you need to think about for being trans, and you don't have to decide them all now. Like, I remember stressing about which GRS surgeon to go with, like, before it even came out. And, like, that is literally years away. And I remember people telling me, like, don't stress, it's years away. And I remember thinking, yeah, but also I'm stressed about it. And I think it's just normal to panic about everything. I mean, I'm an overthinker anyway, so... But yeah, you've got this. Don't worry about flailing. It's normal, and you know you can always call in here, and you can always. There'll be so many people who are wanting to talk to you. Make a Twitter account and be like, "Hey, I'm looking for advice," and then DM me, and I'll retweet you, and you'll get like 300 people reply, and it'll be amazing.
Okay, I think that's probably pretty much it for right now. This is kind of an impulsive thing. But thank you, Katy. Thank you, Arden. I might call in next week or a few weeks down the line.
Yeah, please do.
And you know, if you have a specific thing you want to ask it, even if it's ridiculous. And if you have just a general panic, come with your general panic. We can handle that too. But you know, you've got this. You know. In one sense, this is absolutely crazy and almost no one does it. And in another sense, like literally thousands and thousands and thousands of trans people have gone for it before. And they've all had this bullshit panic stage. And also thousands and thousands of people have thought, shit, what if I'm a trans person? Explored. And they're not. So that's also legit. You know, you're not making decisions today. It's so cool. Don't stress.
Best of luck, John. Thank you so much for calling in. And please do call us back.
I'll try. And I'll try to watch the rest of this show after I get home from work tonight.
Okay.
Well,
All
bye.
right. We will. Okay. Bye bye.
Wicked, good luck.
All right. Yeah, you gotta flail to learn how to fly, huh? That really is how it is.
Yeah. What's that bird that
All
just
right.
pushes their chicks out the nest and they just either die or fly? I can't remember what it is.
Isn't
There
that
is
a
a
lot
bird.
of them? Maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know birds.
Hello, sinners. It's me. And you're watching The Line. Hit that subscribe button and consider ringing that bell. Because if you do, an angel will get its wings.